In today's video, we're going to have a quick look at web services, or ODATA. This is the ability to integrate anything in your Business Central solution to Excel, PowerBI, other systems, whatever you want to do. So you can bring information out of the system, and in many cases, not all, you can push information back to the system. So this is quite a good feature and quite easy to use actually. So if we go and take a quick look at web services, we can see here we have a list of our web services. Now there are lots of them, and you can see that these are the ones that are already published, and there's a big list of them. Now if I scroll over to the right slightly, you can see that the ODATA URL, this is a specific URL of information. So I've got my chart of accounts or my customer card here. So if I click on that customer card, it's asking me to log in using a username and password for Business Central. Now this password that it's asking you for this particular page is, if we go into here and we look up users, we can see under admin we've got our web services access key here, and it's admin and this web service admin key. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to go back here. I'm going to type admin and our key, and we're going to sign in. Now what you have is all of that information. Now that may look on the face of it a lot of information, and what does that mean? But if you look closely, it's a comma separated file, payment terms codes, and then the payment term, payment method. Look up address from postcode, Southwark Bridge Road. So all of the information is in there, machine readable information, just by clicking on that particular link and then going and logging in as my particular user. So if we go back to web services, we can see what that actually does. Here's a list of all of the web services that I currently have set up. Now, I don't happen to have one for vendor card. I have one for customer card. So if I want to set up a new one, I can set up a new one here. It's a page. I don't know what the vendor card entry is, so we can scroll through. Well, I happen to have found it, or we can go and do a search. So if we do a search, we can search up here, but I can see that vendor card is at the top of my list. So I'm going to put in vendor card. I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to publish it. The moment I publish that, it's actually given it a URL. And I can come out of that, and I've created that web service. Now where can I use that web service? That's the important thing. I said earlier that you could use it in PowerBI, you could use it in spreadsheets, you can use it for interfacing with other systems. But what we're going to show you today is how we can use this information. So I created a new spreadsheet in here, and in one of the other videos we talked about this data connector, this Microsoft Dynamics data connector. And if you use the edit in Excel feature, it will export and fire up this data connector, and will enable you to go and get data and republish data back to wherever it is. What we can now do is go into our design mode. So from here we can click design, we can add a table, and we can find through all of the tables that are here the particular table that we created earlier. Now I can say yes, that's next, and now I get the available fields. And I can be really lazy and I can choose all of the fields, or I can choose some of the fields. Now this is a key field, I have to have this field. So we choose this, and we can go and choose quite a lot of the fields that we need in here. So we can shift, and we can then use control, and we can pick up these, and we might want the currency code, and so we can start to look through the system, pick up the email address, There are a few things that we do want, but there's a few things that we don't want. So account number, name, and it's all in alphabetical order. So I think that'll do us for now. So we'll say, yep, we'll add those fields. Now if I want name at the beginning, I can move it up. If I want to create a formula, we can add a formula in there to add things up for us. But on this particular occasion, I'm just going to say that's fine. I'm done. It's now put all of this information into this spreadsheet for me, and I can say yes, I'm happy with that, but I've got no data. So at this point we can hit refresh and we can refresh the data. So now we have the name, the account number, address, and all the information that we may want. In fact, all the information that we chose. If I want to redesign that, we can go into the design view, we can click on here and we can go and look at that particular design view, and we can go and make changes to that design view if we want to by doing edit, and we can add more fields, we can move fields around. So in fact, if I want that number up the top, we can just say yes, I wish to move that up, and we can update and it will move this around. So we can see that I've just updated that. So that's my vendor card. I've just created a vendor card within the web services in Dynamics 365 Business Central. I've taken that data and I've used the Microsoft Dynamics Data Connector in my Excel to connect to that new web service that I just created. And I've taken that data and I've got that data out of the system. So first up, consultants was 20 Alan Turing Road. I can now go and update that to 21 Alan Turing Road, and I can publish that data back. And there's my updated data. So another way of viewing this information, if we go and have a look at Power BI, so we can bring our Power BI in and we can use the Get Data feature. So if we go and have a look at Get Data, online services is what we want today, because we're going to connect to our Business Central, and I can say connect. Because I'm already logged in, it's already gone and found the Business Central that I'm interested in. I can go and have a look at my particular company, because I can have multiple companies, and again what I can now do is I can go and have a look at that particular web service that I created earlier. So we can now go and see information and all the fields again. Now I may wish to use this in reporting. I may wish to use the vendor information against item information. So we can go and have a look at item information. I could type up here item, sales and profit, item sales by customer, whatever it happens to be. So now I can look at item sales, I can look at item ledger entries, and I can look at all sorts of information. Now that will tie back, any item information will tie back to my vendors. Now if it doesn't, and I haven't got the right web service in there for items and purchasing, I can then go and create one for purchasing. So in here I might have something like item Power BI item purchase list. So in this, if I go and have a look, I can see that I've bought Athens desks, and there's information on those Athens desks, but there isn't any information on who I bought them from. So we can start to link these things together and start to produce very, very powerful information. Now this purchase here does start to give me some more information because it has vendor number in it, but it doesn't have other information which can be found in other tables. If we take another look quickly down at the web service that I created earlier, the vendor JG, we have the details of the vendor, their vendor number, their vendor name, but more importantly some other information, which is their address, city, postcode, and we can then show that on the map as we discussed earlier. So we can see from there that we can bring information in from the web services into either Excel or into Power BI, and they're just two examples of many of where web services, or ODATA as it's called, because it creates it as an ODATA v4 URL, and that is the functionality available through the system. Thanks for listening to this latest video. I hope it's been useful.